All right, moving on. The Israeli military has released a Palestinian paramedic detained during an attack on emergency workers in southern Gaza last month. According to Palestinian Red Crescent Society, Assad al-Nassasra had been missing for 3 weeks before the International Committee of the Red Cross confirmed his detention in Israel. He was one of the 10 detainees freed at an Israeli border crossing with Gaza. Listen to one of the freed detainees.
مكثنا أكثر من 5 شهور في سجن يعني وضع كثير صعب كثير سيء بالنسبة لي كثير كان سيء أول مرة بفوت سجن زي هيك مقطوعين من الأخبار والاتصالات بدعو الجميع لإطلاق جميع أسرانا الموجودين.
And the military confirmed holding Nassasra after an internal inquiry into the March 23rd attack, which killed 15 emergency workers, including 8 paramedics from the PRCS and 6 first responders from Gaza Civil Defense Agency. The attack occurred when their ambulances, a fire truck, and a UN vehicle came under fire in Rafah. The bodies of the victims were later found in shallow graves. Meanwhile, the United Nations has condemned the ongoing violence in Gaza, with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressing serious concerns over the worsening humanitarian crisis. Let's listen in to what UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres had to say.
The humanitarian situation throughout the Gaza Strip has gone from bad to worse to beyond imagination. I am alarmed by statements by Israeli government officials about the use of humanitarian aid as a tool for military pressure.
And this statement comes after a series of Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, including a drone attack that killed 5 children in Gaza City, according to the Hamas-run Health Ministry. Meanwhile, the International Court of Justice conducted a second day of hearings regarding Israel's humanitarian responsibilities towards Palestinians as the ongoing Israeli blockade on humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip reaches its 50th day. Mr. Jordan Cope, Middle East Affairs expert, is joining us on the program to talk more about this. Jordan, appreciate you being here. Well, the situation is, far from over and serious by the day in Gaza. 5 children have been killed, and Israel is being questioned and pulled up at this point in time as to its humanitarian responsibilities in Gaza. What do you have to say to that?
Well, first, any war is a tragedy, and any civilian life lost is indeed also a tragedy. The incident that you referred to regarding the 15 medics happened at night. 5 vehicles approached an area where IDF soldiers were located, quickly disembarked, and unfortunately, as often in war, mistakes are made. 15 people were killed. It was later found out that approximately 6 of them were Hamas operatives, but nonetheless, 8 innocent medics were still killed in the process. If you look at wars around the world, according to UN statistics themselves, 90% of all those killed in modern day warfare are civilians. And so to reiterate, any life lost in war is tragic. Israel has since responded by firing the deputy commander who was involved in the incident, and that is severely reprimanded another commander involved in the relevant units. And so it is indeed a tragedy. Even throughout this war, Israel has exercised more humanitarian responsibility than many other countries worldwide. It has allowed over 1 million tons of aid into the Gaza Strip. Under the 4th Geneva Convention, militaries do not have to allow in humanitarian aid if they have reasonable belief to suspect that that aid will reach combatants. And throughout the Gaza Strip, it's been estimated that 60% of all humanitarian aid has ended up in the hands of the very militant combatants that Israel is fighting, that being Hamas and the Islamic Jihad, terrorist organizations that aspire for Israel's destruction and the genocide of the Jewish people. So warfare is obviously complex. Even despite these incidents, civilian casualties, even when using Hamas's reported numbers, which have been fabricated over time, according to statistic experts, it would still show that the civilian casualty rates are far lower than most modern day conflicts, despite this conflict being conducted in the Gaza Strip, which is incredibly dense.
And in Jordan, where do you see this conflict going in the next few weeks, next few days, considering the fact that Hamas and the sponsors of outfits like Hamas refuse to stop this aggression towards Israel?
It's interesting to see that the pressure finally seems to be getting to Hamas, because with the withholding of the aid has actually propelled and compelled many Palestinians to start protesting against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. We've now seen thousands of Palestinians in various protests in various towns throughout the Gaza Strip protesting openly against Hamas in manners that I haven't seen in years. And so as that pressure has built upon Hamas, Hamas has started to make some concessions, both in terms of transparency and in terms of ceasefire negotiation conditions. It's revealed more recently that 72% of all casualties in the recent conflict were actually men and boys of fighting age, which seems to indicate actually that Israel has been far more precise in targeting combatants than Hamas once claimed, because Hamas wanted to show, after all, that this conflict wasn't affecting civilians as much. On top of that, Hamas in recent ceasefire negotiations has expressed an openness to, while not disbanding, to a ceasefire that would last for 5 years. And so obviously no condition is acceptable until Hamas and its genocidal aspirations are no longer governing the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. But what we can expect in the future, perhaps, is Hamas feeling more and increasingly vulnerable and understanding that perhaps in the future its time could be winding down. So throughout war, it's impossible to predict the future, but hopefully how the war is being conducted now, with Israel controlling more territory throughout the Gaza Strip, which is very important for demoralizing Hamas's morale and the supporters of Hamas, perhaps we will see better outcomes in the future, but not if Qatar continues to discourage Hamas from being more open in terms of ceasefire negotiation conditions.
Right.
It's been rumored that Qatar, just one quick point, that Qatar has actually discouraged Hamas and has encouraged it to withhold time to get some better conditions and to keep them in power.
Jordan, always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for those insights. Well, moving on, Japan and the Philippines